Blue's the color of the sky in the morning when we rise. In the morning when we rise, that's the time, that's the time I love the best. Green's the color of the sparkling corn in the morning when we ride. In the morning when we rise, that's the time, that's the time I love the best. Freedom's a word I rarely use without thinking. Without thinking of the time that I've been loved. Yellow is the color of my true love's hair in the morning when we rise. In the morning when we rise, that's the time, that's the time I love the best. In the chilly hours and minutes of uncertainty, I want to be in the warm hold of your loving mind, to feel you all around me and to take your hand along the sand. But I may as well try and catch the wind. When the sundown pales the sky, I want to hide a while behind your smile. And everywhere I look, your eyes I find. For me to love you now would be the sweetest thing. 'Twould make me sing. But I may as well try and catch the wind.
Thank you, Brian. The music of Donovan. We'll have more music today. I'm Gordon Bolar, member of the Sunday Services Committee and a board member of People's Church. And People's Church is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, part of a long tradition of liberal religion. And during the summer, we do things a little bit differently. We have people more down and up front. We have a reflection, which we'll talk about in just a second, delivered by Chris Measzros. But after that, we'll break up into small groups, and we have some discussion questions for you to discuss and ponder. And the person who is delivering is sitting right here. Chris Measzros will deliver the reflection. And Chris grew up in Kalamazoo and got his bachelor degree at Western Michigan University in elementary education and integrated creative arts. He's married to Stephanie, and they have 2 adult daughters, Eliza and Isabel. And Chris has worked for Bangor Public Schools since 1998, where he taught kindergarten drama, life skills, art, music, and middle school social studies. He's been a professional storyteller, ran and wrote musicals for the drama camps in Kalamazoo and South Haven for 20 years, and has directed plays and musicals for South Haven's Our Town Players since 2018. And our music today is a singer-songwriter in his own, who's recorded his music and played around Kalamazoo, Brian Kleinstecker. So we're happy to welcome those as well. We're also happy to welcome those of you who might be watching on Zoom.
All right, we're going to do a song here that I think some of you may know. It's called Peace Like a River. And we got the lyrics up on the screen, so please sing along. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a rope. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. Tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. Tears like the raindrops. Tears like the raindrops in my soul. Strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. Strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul.
Missy, will you come forward and help us light our chalice as I deliver the chalice reading, Love Remains the Center, by Eric Hepburn. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. People support one another in good times and bad. Ours is a sharing community where joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. At this time, if you wish, please come forward, state your name. You can use this microphone and share what's in your heart. Place a pebble in the bowl of water, and you may also place a stone in silence if you like. People support the work of the congregation with their time, talent, and treasure. Our programs are maintained in part by the voluntary financial generosity of members and friends. To this end, let there be an offering to sustain the work of this beloved community. And with some voluntary assistance, the offering will now be given and gratefully received.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? Yes, and how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer's blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
For the countless gifts we have each been given, gifts of life, and love, and sustenance, we bring these small portions, share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
I opened a book. I opened a book, and in I strode. Now nobody can find me. I have left my chair, my house, my road, my town, and my world behind me. I'm wearing the cloak. I've slipped on the ring. I've swallowed the magic potion. I fought with the dragon, dined with the king, and dived in a bottomless ocean. I opened a book and made some friends. I shared their tears and laughter, and followed their road with its bumps and bends to the happily ever after. I finished my book and out I came. The cloak can no longer hide me. My chair and my house are just the same, but I have a book inside me.
And from Emily Dickinson, number 1286, as she numbers her poems. There is no frigate like a book. There is no frigate like a book to take us lands away, nor any coursers like a page of prancing poetry. This traverse may the poorest take without oppress of toll. How frugal is the chariot that bears the human soul.
Yesterday, a child came out to wonder, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle game. Then the child moved 10 times round the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease him, and promises of someday make his dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town. And they tell him, take your time, it won't be long now. Till you drag your feet too slow, the circle's down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. So the years spin by and now the boy is 20. Though his dreams have lost some grandeur coming true, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty before the last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. And go round and round and round in the circle game.
Just marvelous, Brian. I think the treat for the morning for me has been the harmonica in Blowing in the Wind. That's just the chef's kiss. Well, so as you might have heard at the top, my name is Chris Measzros, and I think the first thing I want to get out of the way is, so I teach. I've been teaching elementary school and a little bit of middle school for the last 28 years, so I tend to come off like a teacher, so if you begin to kind of find yourself shifting in your seat and wondering when recess is and wondering what's for snack, that's me. I exude that, so I will apologize for that up front. So, the theme for this year is, the theme for the summer services is living our values, living our UU values. And one of the values that's always attracted me in the Unitarian Church is the value of growth and the value of self-discovery. And so when I was thinking about a topic that I might do for today, I hit on the book that changed my life, because I realized there were some very discrete moments in my life when my life took a change because of a book. Now, of course, I'm not so not so close-minded to think that books are the only things that can change your life. So up here, I've created a small list of other things that have changed my life. And so if you can think of something before we leave here today that you could fill in the blank, you can go ahead and come in and there's some markers up here and put it on my list. The blank that changed your life. So the mistake that changed your life, the sport or the game that changed your life, the concert, the teacher, the relative, the class, the minister, the job, the social media account, the podcast, the summer camp, the relationship, the app. I think now there'd be a lot of young people who would say there's an app that changed their life, and that's perfectly valid. And we want to welcome anything but it's our thinking about it that allows us to create it. So one of the things that's kind of fundamental to this is my belief that there is no you except the you that you manage the existence of. So I did a course years ago called the Landmark Education Wisdom Course, and in it was one of the central points to it. And so in much the same way that my yard isn't a yard except the way that I maintain it. So every year I have to go out and I have to get rid of all of the plants that are in my neighbor's yard that are up against my fence, because I know he's not going to do it because it's a rental. And I have to, I got to mow the lawn, and I have to get rid of all the weeds that are around my hostas. And there's a myriad of things that I have to do to manage my lawn. Otherwise, I don't have a lawn. So in the same way, there is a you that you have to manage. And one of the points of the wisdom course was that if you want something different, you have to manage something different, and you have to, but that there are distinct things that happen in your life to create something that you then take on managing. The same way that you might find a plant, and then you put that plant in your yard, and then that becomes something you have to manage. So what I wanted to do was to come up with a test that you could apply to demonstrate that a book has changed your life. Because I think, so I've had a lot of conversations this summer about the book that changed their life, and what I ran into was a lot of people that told me their favorite books. And I wanted to get at something that was beyond just your favorite book. Like, I have books that I love, but some of those books merely reinforce things that I already think. Or maybe it's a book that says what I think in a way that I hadn't thought of, but essentially, I'm not changed by that particular book. So I came up with a rigorous definition of the book that changed your life. And that is a book that has made a difference for you in a way where something is available to you in your life that was not available before. So I have a friend in Canada who's doing life coaching, and that's one of the things that she says to her clients is, okay, you've tried this, what's available to you now? And I like that language of what's available to you. Like there's in yoga, or if I'm exercising and I'm building up a muscle, then there should be more power that I have that's available to me. Or if I'm stretching, there should be more space in the stretch that's available. So I like that. So given that, I want to go back to the beginning of the first books that changed my life that I can remember. So the first book that changed my life was this one here called 10 Copycats in a Boat. So I'm somebody that I love telling jokes. And in this book, what was curious was the setup for the joke would be on one side. And there are a couple books like this. And then you had to turn the page to the other side. So the first question is, 10 copycats are in a boat. One cap jumped out. How many are left? And then you turn the page, and the answer is none, because they were all copycats. Now, when I was 6, this blew my mind, that you could set up a book. I actually remember in my first grade, I checked this book out of the library every week. Every week I'd go back and I'd check this book out again. I just like, how did somebody think up jokes this good? The next joke is, what does a cat have that no other animal has? You don't know what it is. You got to turn the page. Kittens. And the last joke there is, if you put a duck in a box, if you put 4 ducks in a box, what would you have? I didn't put it in there, but it's a box of quackers. I just thought that was brilliant. Like, how did somebody think up jokes that good? The next book that changed my life is this book called Frederick. Now, in Frederick, it was kind of a tale that was a fable that was opposite the fable of the ant and the grasshopper. If you know the ant and the grasshopper, there is this industrious ant who is building and putting away food for the winter and keeps saying to the grasshopper, you keep fiddling your life away and you're going to be dead by the time winter comes. And the grasshopper says, oh, I don't care, I just enjoy life. And then the grasshopper dies and the ant lives. And that's kind of the point to that fable. Well, Frederick took a different turn. In Frederick, Frederick is the one who's sitting there closing his eyes. Meanwhile, all the other mice are, he's kind of a freeloader in a way, but all the other mice they're putting away corn and grain, and they're saying, Frederick, why don't you work? And he says, I do work. I gather sun rays for the winter has cold, dark winter days. And then when winter comes, they use up all of their supplies. But Frederick is able to tell them words, and he's able to sing songs that keep them company. And I thought, that's an interesting path. And it was really me kind of building myself as somebody who could be an artist. Because I think that's one of the points to art. It's one of the points to it is it's there to have us feel things that we can't feel without somebody having thought of it. And I thought that'd be kind of a cool little gig. I wouldn't mind being a Frederick in the world. And that's probably the famous one. So the next two books so I was not a very good reader when I was young. And so The Cricket in Times Square was the first book I remember reading. I'm embarrassed to say I was in 6th grade when I was able, but it's the first book that I read that was a chapter book. And it kind of established me in the world of being a reader. Like there are points in a child's education where they decide, oh, I am a reader, and they decide they're going to be able to read books, and at points where they say, nope, that's not for me. And so that was one. Another very influential book on me was Isaac Asimov's The Universe. It was the one, and it was the one that really got me in touch with how much of science is just math and deduction. And the fact that we could understand things, like I remember reading it and just being shook that we could understand that the universe is expanding and getting away from us because of the redshift, because things that are moving away from us have this color, and things that are coming towards us, like that blew my mind. And I remember reading that in middle school and just thinking, like, this is precious. Like, this is absolutely precious knowledge. Now, I wouldn't be me and how much I've done with theater if I hadn't encountered this book, Christmas Plays for the Young Actor. This was another one I remember. This is a little bit younger. I remember being in 5th grade and checking this book out time after time because I liked I think up until this point, I had never really understood how plays worked. And so what it made available to me was being able to write plays myself. Because I understood, like, oh, this is a stage direction. It's in parentheses. And then I had a little typewriter that had red ribbon and black ribbon. I remember putting the character names in red, and then the stage action would be in red, but the dialogue would be in black. And I thought that was really cool. And sometimes during acts, for the second act, I'd switch that. But I really learned, largely from this book, I learned how a play is put together and what you have to have and how you can have characters give you the exposition in their dialogue. Well, jumping ahead a little bit, this next one is kind of a cheat. So I actually encountered at the Kalamazoo Public Library the record Waiting for Godot, and I knew Bert Lahr from Wizard of Oz, and I knew E.G. Marshall because I was somebody that I liked staying up until 11:07 at night on WKZO. They had an old show called CBS Radio Mystery Theater. That was an hour long, and I loved that show. I loved the pace of it, and I loved E.G. Marshall. I love his kind of framing of it. And so I listened to that record, and I memorized that record. I was thinking, if I worked a month, I could probably get back to, except for Patso's speech, or except for Lucky's speech, if you know it. But then I got into the book, and it opened up the world of another kind of theater that kind of got a little bit deeper. It wasn't just about the action. It was about like what you would call the human condition. And And it's an absolutely brilliant story, and absolutely, it is just brilliantly put together by. And then I got into other things by Beckett. And one of the things about Samuel Beckett, the author, is a lot of his writing was people who are older looking back on their younger years. And I remember thinking at the time when I was in high school, you know, I could be somebody who could be. I could memorize these things when I get to be older, like, you know, when I get to be in my 50s or 40s or something, and I could perform these things. That's, of course, when I was in my teens, I thought my parents were old. All right, now, skipping on a little bit, I had a terrible time in relationships, and this book, Love Tactics, helped me a ton. So I was extremely insecure, and what Love Tactics did is Love Tactics said things like, you know, if you're on a date, don't talk about your problems all the time. I was like, really? Tell me more about this. Or if you were on a date, ask your date things about themselves. And they had specific verbal techniques where if they ask you a question, Love Tactics said, answer the question as quickly as you can and then ask them a question back. Because we all love people who let us talk about ourselves. Like those are our favorite people in our lives. And it blew my mind. And literally, it also said, ask anybody that you want to go on a date. And if they say no, let it roll like water off a duck's back. But then keep asking people. And so I literally, it was in the throes of Love Tactics that I asked Stephanie. So we worked at fast food with style racks downtown. And I worked the day shift and she worked the evening shift, and she came in a little bit early and I thought she was cute and had cute glasses, and they asked her on a date, and I wouldn't have done any of that and been unattached, and just, it really managed my insecurity so I could actually go on dates and I could actually have relationships. The next book that changed my life was This Rise Up Singing. And that was really in terms of understanding that there's a whole world of folk music out there that I didn't know about. You know, I knew about kind of the people that my dad liked to listen to, but one of the things that my wife did is she taught me how to play guitar, and this was a book that really let me dig into the lore and the literature of guitar. This next book, so I'm vegan and have been vegan since 1990, and the one on the left, the vegetarian cookbook, pretty much was the only thing out there that was a way, and it's really, I still use it. It's a cookbook that does American food, but it does it vegan. And then the Moosewood cookbook on the right was the first cookbook that I ever read that took garlic seriously and cooked like, we're going to really, you're going to prepare things that are going to be really good rather than just, yeah, you can eat it, which is kind of what more like the vegetarian cookbook was. You will be able to eat it. It will resemble food that you grew up with. But really, as far as flavoring, the Moosewood cookbook, and I still use both of them a lot. So in my education, because I didn't really go to school right away, I did education in kind of the installment plan. I would go to school, and then when I ran out of money, I would work until I had the money, and then I would go back to school. So it took me about 10 years to get through college. But this book on the left, Creative Experiences for Young Children, blew me away in terms of she had so many creative ways to teach young children different concepts. And her, this woman, Mimi Bronsky-Chenfield, her creativity never seemed to end. I remember going through and highlighting things that I liked and realizing I was highlighting every activity. Because it was so, by the way, a lot of these books are over there, and if you wanted to kind of peruse them and take a look at them, many of the books that are up here are over there. Also important in my teaching drama to children was Ruth Bell Heinig, formerly of Western Michigan University, her improvisation with favorite tales. So she would take a well-known tale like Three Little Pigs, and then she would show you how you could have kids do little drama and little okay, you're the wolf, come back and you have to tell your mother that you didn't get any of the pigs. You know, what's that scene gonna look like? And again, terribly creative, and kids responded to it. Kids responded to this very well. So I would say the Riverside Anthology of Children's Literature was really the thing that grew my ability to tell stories. So I would go to Western Michigan University for a couple of, but then for a couple of years, I was teaching after school at the Kazoo School up in the Hillsdale neighborhood, Hillcrest neighborhood. And so I would walk up, and as I was walking, I would read a story from there. And then when I would get there, as the kids were having snacks, I would tell the story. So I once listed and realized I could tell about 80 stories with just a little bit of preparation, and most of them came from Riverside. The one on the other side, very important book, The People's History of the United States. I don't know that I've ever even read the whole thing, but that history could be told from what was going on from a commoner's perspective, like from the people who were working and doing most of the living and most of the dying, also blew me away. And it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that I didn't know what the experiences were of common people and of farmers and of the workers throughout history. So that was a very important book in expanding my mind. So the melody book is actually the book that I used to learn guitar. My wife taught me how to play guitar, but the melody book was really where I dug I remember it was during Froggy Went A-Courtin', which is in that book, and it's got like 15 verses or something, that I really was able to get a strumming pattern down. So it was a good teaching book. And the other one, so I love teaching with folklore and folk games because I think kids connect with it really easily. And I had never thought of the things that I did as a child as folklore until I saw this book. And then I realized, I can actually use this with kids, and it can be a language and it can be a conduit that we can both share. When I had my own daughters, Harry Potter and the His Dark Materials series were two series that I read aloud to them and really connected us and expanded my ability to just to have, it created a whole world of books that I can now exist with my daughters in. My daughters don't maybe realize it, but every time it's a birthday or a Christmas, they always get at least one book from me as a way of building up their library. Now, a little ways into teaching specials, I went from being a drama teacher to being an art teacher, and I did not know about how to teach art, but this man, Ed Emberley, taught me so much. He does, if you look at the next page, he'll show you how to draw complicated things using very simple shapes, and it became a language that I could learn how to draw, and I could show kids how to draw. And so that was very important. Equally important to my teaching art was this next book, Draw Squad, because again, Mark Kistler does he does a lot of things with very simple shapes and very simple shading, and it's got rules, and elementary kids need that. They need rules and they need things like that to really hold on to. A couple more books. When my daughters were becoming teenagers, Our Last Best Shot was one of the things that helped me really understand what they were going through so I could expand my ability as a father to meet their needs. And then Vegan for Everybody it's a test kitchen book, and it's the first vegan cookbook that I've seen that really took international food seriously. And it's still an amazing book. So I'm still growing, and so a book that has really changed my life that I got 2 years ago. So at Bay City in a youth shop, I got this book, Emphasis Art. It was written in the 1970s, and what it talks about from cover to cover is that art teaching for young children should be about them expressing their world and them expressing their imaginations. And it's not about learning about the famous painters, and it's not about, you have to learn these techniques. And I really like it, and it's made my teaching a lot more playful and a lot more fun. And the other book that's not up there is, this is a book, My Mother's Life. So I gave this to my mother, and my mother said, Chris, I'm not gonna fill that book out. It's got questions, if you haven't seen this kind of a book, that, have things like, describe your parents when you were a teenager. Did you get in trouble often? My mother does not want to write things like that, but she said, Chris, you can interview me and I'll answer those questions. So I've now been going through the process of interviewing her, and because, when our parents get older and our parents lose our memory, it's like a library is gone. And I didn't realize that until my dad died about 4 years ago. And then I just realized, God, there are things that I wish I would have had on recording. So I'm recording them, and I'm going to record them in the book. So that's changed my life because it's expanding my my knowledge of and my capacity to really understand my parents, which ultimately helps me understand myself. So now we go on to the questions. That's kind of a little bit to myself. And now, so here are the questions you'll do in your 12 to 15 minutes of discussion. Do you have a book that changed your life? If so, what is it? And what did it make available to you in your life? Do you need to discover a book that has changed your life on your own, or could the book be assigned to you in class? Most of the time when I was talking to people this summer about a book that changed their life, it was something they discovered or they went and they sought it out. It wasn't something that was assigned. So I'm interested, could it be something that a teacher assigns to you? And then the third question, do you need to be in your formative years or otherwise be looking to have your lives changed, or can a book take you by surprise? I also noticed that a lot of the books that changed people's lives when I talked to them were things that they encountered when they were in, you could say kind of 15 to 25. And so I'm wondering, is it something that, can you teach an old dog new tricks? Is it something that you need to be open to, or can it be something that can take you by surprise? So what we'd like you to do now is find yourself in groups of 4 or 5, and kind of turn your chairs around and rearrange yourselves, and go ahead and discuss these questions, and we'll let you know when there's about a minute left and when you need to kind of wrap up discussions.
Okay, all right. Okay, as we conclude, we've got one more song and then some words of conclusion. Thank you for those discussions. The one I was in was certainly very lively and deep and searching, and Chris, you provoked a lot of questions and answers to questions here, and that's kind of what we're designed to do. So, thank you.
Well, the show must go on. It's first, okay. Song by Broken String. All right. Yeah, a song by John Prine. I always used to think the song was about older people, and but when I hit 70 last year, I realized it's probably about me too. Yeah. We had an apartment in the city. Me and Loretta like living there. It's been years since the kids have grown a life of their own, left us alone. John and Linda live in Omaha. Joe is somewhere on the road. We lost Davy in the Korean War. Still don't know what for, don't matter anymore. You know that old trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say, hello in there, hello. Well, me and Loretta, we don't talk much more. She sits and stares at the back door screen, and all the news just repeats itself like some forgotten dream that we both seen. Someday I'll go and call up Rudy. We worked together at the factory. But what could I say if he asked what's new? Nothing, what's with you? Nothing much to do. You know that old trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. And old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say, hello in there, hello. So if you're walking down the street sometime and spot some hollow ancient eyes, please don't just pass them by and stare as if you didn't care. Say hello in there, hello.
Chris and Brian, the words that you've spoken and sung and referenced today have provided certainly a perspective for me on a lot of experiences with books and with songs. Three of these people are on my Mount Rushmore of songwriters, and certainly John Prine is up there on it as well. So if that's provided a perspective for you, may you go forth and see the world as it really is. Thank you.